Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Dice Hospital ER Emergency Roll by Alley Cat Games.
If you are familiar with Dice Hospital, this is Dice Hospital ER Emergency Roll. And this is the roll and write version of Dice Hospital. And in this one, as you might imagine, you are rolling dice and writing things down on your hospital paperboard. It is a game that you can play solo, but you can also play with other players. Let me show you how it works down below, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, here's Dice Hospital Emergency Roll on the table. Let me show you guys how this roll and write version of Dice Hospital plays. With it, you are going to have a player sheet that represents your hospital. This top section right here is going to be your hospital where you are putting your patients, and you will keep track of your stats and the things you gain throughout the course of the game, and you will put your score down here. You do have cards in this game as well as dice, and you do get pencils included, but for this video I am going to be writing everything with a pen, as that will show up better on the video here. So how this is going to work, one person will start the game as the chief physician. Now this card will rotate throughout the course of the game, and whoever is the chief physician will be the person who gets to roll these dice. And so we'll go ahead and roll them. We've got a red 1, a green 6, and a yellow 3. And then you'll flip the top card of the ambulance deck over, which I've already done. In this deck, there are going to be 27 ambulances, and they'll look something like this, where you have a red, yellow, and green ambulance, and an icon on each of those. You will randomly remove 3 of these at the beginning of the game, and you'll play through this deck. And when this deck runs out, that's when the game will end. And so you can see here we have our different ambulances, and you will line up the dice with the colored spots that match, so red, yellow, and green. And then starting with the chief physician, they will choose 1 die with the matching ambulance. So in this particular instance, I would probably select the red 1 with the 2 stethoscopes. And the reason for that is because when you are writing in your patients into your hospital, you have to start from the entrance to your ward. You have 7 different wards, and you can see that denoted by these doorways that connect to the wards from the entrance to your hospital. These 4 hexes here, this is the entrance to our hospital. And so here is Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so I chose red 1, and my values that I put into my wards, they need to increase in value as I go throughout the ward. So for instance, if Ward 1 here, if I were to write a 1 in this hex right here, because I am selecting red 1, then the next hex needs to have a number greater than 1, and so on and so forth. And once I fill up a completed ward, then I will earn the number of victory points at the end of the game. But because the die is red, I can only put that number either in a red hex, such as this one here, or in a gray hex, which can hold any color of number. But I could not put it in this green hex because that can only be filled up with green patients. So red 1, I would probably write that right here, because 1 is a fantastic number to start with, because you can't get any lower than 1, and anything other than a 1 can go right here so long as it's green. Now, I do have to take the icon that goes with the ambulance that I selected, and in this case, it is 2 stethoscopes. So stethoscopes you'll keep track of right down here, and you do start the game with 1 already filled in, but when you gain additional stethoscopes, you just circle the dotted line around the stethoscope, and I get 2 because there are 2 in this icon right here. Now what a stethoscope can do is, whenever I want to increase or decrease the value of a die, so say for instance I really wanted this yellow 3, but I needed it to be lower than that, I could spend a stethoscope and lower that 1 point for each one that I spend. And you just keep track of that by marking it off. So I lowered that 3 to a 2, and now I could have used the yellow 2. You're only selecting 1 die, by the way. And so that is how stethoscopes work. Now, for all the other players at the table, they are not going to be able to select the same combination that the chief physician used. So if I chose the red one, I take that die and I move it over next to me so that everybody knows, well, you cannot select red for this round. You either have to select the yellow or the green, and players make that choice and mark their decisions on their board, taking along with the icon that goes with the die that they're taking. So let's cover some of these icons. The exclamation point here is going to indicate that that is a critical patient. And so if a player were to have chosen the yellow 3 here, and let's just pretend that I am that other patient and I write that yellow 3 right here, then you will put an exclamation point next to that number, and that will indicate that at the end of the game, I will add up the value for all of my critical patients and put that number right here, and those are victory points. So critical, the exclamation point is a very good thing. You want high numbers when you take the exclamation point because that's additional victory points. The nurse meeple here, she is going to allow you to mark off the corresponding nurse icon with the ward that you put that 6 in, that die in. So if, for instance, I had added it to this green hex right here because it's green and it's a green 6, then I would get to mark off this nurse right here, and each nurse can only be gained once throughout the course of the game, and each ward has a nurse. Then you also circle the furthest left uncircled number on this nurse line. And so I've circled the 2 here, and at the end of the game, I will gain victory points for whichever one I have gotten to the farthest in this line, adding that number to the box down here. So that's how those 3 icons work. Let's take a look at another card real quick. The circle icon is a very good one to have because, for instance, let's say that circle had been attached to the green 6 here. I would add a circle around that 6, and now I can reset my line of numbers here. Any number can go in the next box. It does not have to be higher than 6, which is great because there is no number that is higher than 6. The question mark with a different, with a color die here tells you that whenever you take that particular die, so I've taken the yellow 3 for instance, I also have to take an additional 3 or 4 patient and add that somewhere into my hospital. So you are taking 2 patients whenever you take this icon. And then lastly, the blood bag is very important. Whenever you take the blood bag, you are going to circle a blood bag icon right here. And just like in the original Dice Hospital game, blood bags will allow you to change the color of the die that you are taking to make it become any color you want. And again, scratching this off whenever you use it. Also, blood bags can be used to be able to take the same die and ambulance combination that the chief physician took for that round. So you can spend a blood bag to take that red one, for instance, if you really wanted it. And that's the gist of the game. You will continue to do this round and round and round, passing the chief physician card each time so that each person gets a chance to be able to roll the dice and pick whichever one they want first. You will reveal a new ambulance for each round as well. And what you are ultimately trying to do, you're trying to fill up these wards to be able to gain the victory points once you have completely filled them up, but you're also trying to advance down this track. Anytime you cannot use any of the dice that are available to you for that turn, or if you just don't want to use them, you do have to circle one of these deaths, and that will be negative points at the end of the game. There are also in-game goals that you are trying to achieve. There are going to be 2 cardiologist cards dealt for each game. These are randomly selected, and they're just going to be different things for you to try to accomplish. If you are the first player to accomplish it, so for instance, the first player to get 4 blood bags, you'll get 8 points. Any other player who accomplishes it throughout the rest of the game will only gain 5 points. There will be 1 radiologist who will tell you how to score the different radiologist spots on your board. So there are going to be 2 different spots here. And so for instance, this particular one says that if you can get 5s around your radiology spot here, then you will gain a number of points based on how many 5s you put around it, 5, 10, 15, or 20. That's an example there for how to score radiologist. And then you will have an epidemiologist goal as well. And if you're able to get what is depicted there on the card, you will gain a number of victory points for that as well. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game is going to be the winner, and that is how you play Dice Hospital ER Emergency Roll. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Dice Hospital ER Emergency Roll from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, we got to start with the beginning, and by the beginning I mean Dice Hospital beginning, not Dice Hospital ER Emergency Roll, because Dice Hospital has long been one of your favorite games.
It's in my top 10.
Yeah.
It's of all time games.
And in fact, it's one of our earliest videos that we ever did on Love to Hate. You can click the eye in the top right corner and it'll take you to that video, and you can see what we looked like a long time ago when we first started making videos.
Judge.
Don't judge. I hope we've gotten a little bit better in our production quality, but this here is the roll and write version of it. And roll and writes, you have kind of gone back and forth on. You've had mixed experiences with them.
Most of the time, not my favorite.
Right, exactly. So this being in the family of one of your favorite games of all time, being a roll and write version, it has to live up to some pretty high expectations. So we do want to make that clear and set that precedent out there. Now for me, I could care less if it's Dice Hospital or not. I just want to, judge it based off of what kind of game it is. So you as a non-gamer, what did you experience with Dice Hospital ER Roll and Write?
I mean, I do think, there's Dice Hospital Roll and Write and then Dice Hospital Roll and Write compared to the real Dice Hospital. It's not Dice Hospital. You have to separate yourself from that thinking. So going into it, it's a little bit of a letdown just because Dice Hospital has so much to live up to. It's such a unique game. It was the first type of game I've ever played like that. And this is just not the same. That being said, I think on its own, again, roll and rides are not my favorite. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it's a unique concept. The idea of, the idea of rolling the dice and the, what is it called? The acuity of the patients being important. And then you work your way down the hallways, which, kind of like how you would at a hospital, filling the rooms as you go. It had something to it.
Okay.
I think it's a good travel size version because the real Dice Hospital, you're not taking that anywhere. It's a large game.
Takes up a lot of space too.
So it had some components of Dice Hospital.
Okay.
So
yeah, I can see where you're coming at. I guess my thing with it is, and you're gonna pick up real clear what I think about this game. It's not, like Sam said, it's not Dice Hospital.
Yeah.
And then because it's not Dice Hospital, I think they should have called it something completely different because it's not Dice Hospital. So why even attach that name to it? I get it has the look of it and the draw of it because Dice Hospital was a successful game. A lot of people like it. And so that's how you're going to get people in on playing this. But I do think it's going to be a letdown for most people that have played Dice Hospital. My biggest drawback with this game is that there are so many things with Dice Hospital that you just don't experience with this game here. You're not having
one-dimensional.
You're not having patients get better or worse. They just are what they are. They don't change, and you're not really treating those patients. You're just stacking them on top of one another. So the theme for me isn't really there at all.
Yeah, I see that.
Now. It is a roll and write in the sense that what you've written down before impacts what you're going to be able to do on down the road. So that is true to the mechanic of a roll and write, but it just, I don't know, doesn't fit the theme for me. So
I definitely understand that as well. I mean, it's not a Dice Hospital game. I think it's a very simple roll and write game. I think it's good for non-gamers. I think it has that medical aspect for maybe that person in your life who's medical and not
healthcare.
Not super into games, but you kind of want to start something. I think this is a good option. But also you don't have to know anything about healthcare to play it. So, I mean, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all in all, I think it's just, for me, is a bit of a ho-hum experience.
Yeah.
And for you, being healthcare, you had a little bit more of a tie into it. Dice Hospital holds a near and dear place to you, so maybe you had a little more strong feelings towards
like
it.
it was easy to play. That's always for me gonna put it up a little bit higher. That's not something that Lance is necessarily looking for. I'm looking for ease of understanding and ease of play,
right?
Because that means that I can be independent in playing it and not constantly asking questions, and that helps me to enjoy a game.
And
more.
I'm looking more for the wow factor, the strategic. Let me burn my brain a little bit. Just don't really have that with this. So.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, so let's get to pros and cons, a lot of which we've already named. So we'll just breeze through this real quickly. But what stood out to you in a good way about this game?
Again, ease of play, and it's fairly quick as well. It's easy to understand, and it does have that healthcare aspect to it. It's fun to find something that correlates with your profession. Bring work home with you.
Sam is a nurse, by the way. I don't know if everybody knows that out there. She's an RN.
So, it's kind of fun to play something like that and be like the manager of your own little hospital. So, yeah, I think that's, my pros for the most part.
Okay. What doesn't work so great for you?
Kind of what you said. It is a very one-dimensional basic game. It's a little disappointing if you are comparing it to Dice Hospital. Your patients don't change, which I think is that's the brain-burning part of Dice Hospital, and the part that I really enjoy. And you're not treating anybody, you're just placing them. So you're more of a nurse, a house supervisor, putting people where they need to be and then stepping out. Somebody's gonna comment that's
that's not what we do.
But so if you're comparing it in any way to Dice Hospital, I think you're gonna be disappointed.
I'll agree with that 100%. So let's get to our scores then. Scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. Where does Dice Hospital ER emergency roll come in at?
It's going to be kind of low, but I'm not going to say I'm never going to play it again. I enjoyed it enough that, again, and it's small and easy to take with us, it may go into our travel game box. So I'd probably give it a 6.5.
All right. That's definitely higher than what I would give it. This game, as you guys can probably tell, I did not have a great experience with it. Just kind of meh. So I'm going to give it a 5.2. Just a kind of a game. It's just a game to me. I don't know that, it has any lasting impact on it for me. And when I compare it to the backdrop of Dice Hospital, because it has the name, it has the look to it, it just doesn't live up to that expectation. So that's why it comes in at a 5.2 for me. So, well, there you have it. That's our thoughts on Dice Hospital ER emergency roll. Not Dice Hospital rolling, right? ER emergency roll, but it is what it is. From Alley Cat Games, leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think of this game.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.